Time to pull up a chair. We've got another great story for you today in the rLounge. Some people see rules as guidelines. Others see them as optional. Today in the rLounge, karma, or just common sense, has a way of catching up. And when it does, oh, it's delicious. Up first, an unhinged ex-wife who forgets she's the ex. Am I the a-hole for taking away the keys of our house from my husband's ex-wife? A couple of days ago, I came home from a work meeting and was unpleasantly surprised to find my husband's ex-wife wandering around the house, fresh out of the shower, with only a towel wrapped around her body. I felt absolutely hysterical, though I didn't show it. She had the keys because her daughter, who is also my husband's daughter, spends more time at our house than at hers, so she occasionally comes to visit her. This time, I didn't hold back. I demanded that she give me the keys and told her she wasn't allowed to come over while I was not home. My husband was asleep in the bedroom and had no idea that his ex-wife was even in the house. When I asked my stepdaughter why her mother had stayed, she simply said that she wasn't planning to leave until her dad woke up. My mind immediately interpreted that as an attempt at seduction. In short, I took away the house keys and told her that it wasn't necessary for her to come see her daughter on weekdays when my stepdaughter went to her house already on weekends. If she needed to come over for something important, she had to ask for permission. She called me crazy, but my husband backed me up, which was the only reason she eventually left without making a scene. Today, I started wondering if maybe I overreacted and handled things immaturely, but at the same time, I don't want her around my 4-month-old baby when I'm not home. Edit. To avoid more accusations, I checked the entire chronology of the cameras at home and my husband was sleeping with our baby all morning. He didn't even know she was home, but he was angrier than me when he saw her and even insisted that we report her. Let's get some judgment from the community. First up, not the a-hole, if this is real. But that's a huge overstep and really weird on her part. Time for some boundaries. The OP replies, yes, I also think I should have done it a long time ago, but I was embarrassed until now. Next thought, you're definitely not the a-hole, and she was trying to seduce your husband in my opinion. She should have never been given a key, and her reaction of getting mad says everything about her intentions. Next person says, emergency use of someone else's key doesn't include the ex wanting to take a shower in that person's house. Wanting to make sure the stepdaughter came home safely also doesn't include stepping inside someone else's house and wandering around. She's lost her key privileges, not the a-hole. One more thought. Why does she have keys in the first place? And how old is your daughter? Bigger question is why was the husband sleeping and she was showering? Sounds suspect. Can't help but think you arrived after their activities. The OP replies, she always had the keys in case of an emergency while we were traveling. My stepdaughter is 17 years old, and the last thing my husband had spent the night awake at work, so he slept all day. Although I also thought like you at first, I immediately checked the cameras I have in some areas of the house to monitor my baby, including the bedrooms. Update. Hi, it's me, the woman who found her husband's ex-wife in her house wearing a towel. I've seen that things have gotten pretty out of control, to the point where it's spread all over the internet. So I'm here to clear some things up and give some updates. First of all, we've changed all the locks, and although my stepdaughter has her own key, she's not going to risk losing her father's trust after the serious talk they had. After my husband started the process for a restraining order, his ex-wife's sister reached out to us. She told us that the ex-wife was feeling empty and threatened because of me. I've been living with my husband in this house for 3 years, and she had never done anything like this before, so it seemed extremely strange to me that she would pull this kind of stunt right after I gave birth to my son. Anyway, my husband's ex-sister-in-law assured us that she was going to receive psychological treatment and that we could move forward with the restraining order. She just asked us to understand that the ex-wife seemed to be falling into some kind of depression that was preventing her from thinking clearly. As for why I feel so bad and why I haven't reacted more aggressively, I have an explanation. Since giving birth a few months ago, I felt slow, dumb, and a bit confused about everything. I never had serious trouble defending myself in English before, but now I do, and my emotions are all over the place, leaving me feeling distressed in any dramatic situation. To wrap things up, I'd like to clarify a few points. No, my husband has not cheated on me with the woman he's been having issues with for 11 years. I checked the security cameras, and he was asleep next to our child during the hour his ex-wife was showering downstairs. That bathroom is pretty far from the bedroom. My stepdaughter was barely involved in her mother's plan. In fact, she was the one who alerted me that her mom was in the house and that she had no idea why. Normally, her mom would let her know before visiting, and only if my husband wasn't home. Yes, the woman only did it to get under my skin and make herself feel better. Spoiler, she won't be coming near my family again. In any case, thank you for the support and all the advice. I'm glad to know that there are still understanding people who have stood by me in a moment when my emotions faltered and made me doubt myself. Let's get some more opinions from the community. My guess is the birth of your son pushed her over. Until that point, she thought she had the upper hand because she and your husband had the bond of a shared child. In her mind, she was still the primary relationship and you were temporary. Now you have a ring and a child, and that blew up her fantasy. You go forward with a restraining order. Her mental health is on her to manage it, and she has her own relatives to support her through that. Next opinion, not the a-hole. That is absolutely a violation of privacy and scary. She's being a complete creep and needs to be put in her place, aka out of the picture. Next person says, not the a-hole. You need a restraining order yesterday. If his ex is unable to control her emotions, you need protection from her. Draw your line in the sand and make it clear that any violations of the restraining order will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. This woman sounds like an absolute nutcase. You need a new security system and police intervention like yesterday. An emergency key is for emergencies, like fires, floods, not for making yourself at home in someone else's house. She's living in La La Land, and honestly, it's weird that she even had keys to your house. She crossed a serious line, and the comments are right. It is scary. Has anyone ever seen the movie Fatal Attraction or the You series on Netflix? She's giving the same vibes, and even if she was trying to attempt anything with your ex, not sure that's the way to do it. What do you make of this? Up next, if there's one thing the corporate world excels at, it's turning harmless fun into an absolute circus. Am I the a-hole for reporting my coworker for cheating in the company walking competition? At our last company meeting, they announced there would be a step competition. Participation is voluntary. If the average number of steps is greater than or equal to a 5K per day, all participants get a Friday half day. The person with the most steps overall wins an Apple Watch. We would log our steps during the work days only for 20 days. I've been in a funk lately and was glad for an excuse to get back into my fitness routine. I love running and asked if steps from running could be counted. Matt, who volunteered to manage the competition, said it did. My goal was 20,000 steps a day, thinking this would easily put me in the lead, but on day one, this guy Dave posted 23,000. I sent him a message on Teams saying something along the lines of, "It's on." The next day I put up 24,000. He answers back with 25,000. Another coworker, Jenna, also joined in. The three of us started having daily chats about our workouts. By week 2, it's looking certain one of us will win, and the whole group is absolutely getting a half day off work. Then I checked the log, and out of nowhere, Tiffany, who'd been posting 10 to 15,000 per day, posts 65,000 steps. For perspective, a marathon I ran resulted in 52,000. So I'm skeptical, but also maybe Tiffany ran a casual ultramarathon on a work day. Who knows? I sent her a Teams message. That's a lot of steps. What's your secret? She said she plays volleyball and wanted to count the steps from her games, but can't safely keep her phone or watch on her to keep count. To solve this problem, Matt looked up a chart online that gives a step equivalent for other activities. For example, volleyball equals 89 steps per minute. Tennis equals 133 steps per minute, etc. Fair enough, but the math still ain't mathin', so I said, "Wow, you must have played for like 8 hours." Her reply, "Well, I also rode my bike." Now this is where I call BS, so I clarified, "You counted riding your bike?" Turns out, she didn't just use the chart for volleyball, she used it to count everything she did and convert it into steps. Bike riding, stretching, yoga, washing the dishes, all great, but those are not steps. This seemed pretty lame to me, and I just said, "I don't think that's really in the spirit of this competition," and immediately went to Matt to ask about this chart. Specifically if bike riding counted towards steps. He said bike riding didn't count. It was too different and also unfair since not every employee has access to a bike. I thanked him for clarifying and told him that Tiffany may also need some clarification. Not 2 minutes later, I get this message from Tiffany. "Really? You complained about me? That's actually not in the spirit of the competition. I lost a pet recently and have been so depressed. I've been struggling to lose weight, and I was so proud of my steps from yesterday. Not everyone can be a marathon runner like you. Really uncool." I knew I was being a little cheeky going to Matt, but Tiffany's message really took me by surprise. Am I the a-hole? Let's see if the community thinks OP was the a-hole. First up, your company is the a-hole for making you all compete against each other for a measly half day off. Next person says, to be fair, they're not competing for the half day off. They all get that if they all participate. They're competing for an Apple Watch. And why shouldn't a company try and support efforts of self-betterment? Next thought. I think these kinds of things that pit employees against each other are not actually great for morale. Look at this person coming to Am I the a-hole because of a fight they're now in with a coworker because of this competition. That's why I think the company is the a-hole. Next person. Not the a-hole. Digesting ice cream also uses calories. Doesn't mean I should convert it into steps. The OP was judged, not the a-hole. Update. So the feedback on my last post made me feel like less of an a-hole for sure, but what happened next definitely got rid of any remaining guilt I may have had. Tiffany won the steps competition. After I spoke with Matt, he tried to clear things up with Tiffany, but in his words, she was combative and rude, so he ended up looping in our HR rep, Jill. Jill decided that Tiffany could keep her 65,000 steps, and the rules would just be clarified for everyone going forward. Well, going forward, Tiffany continued to post 35,000 to 40,000 steps every single day. Less ridiculous than 65,000, but still ridiculous considering we all sit at desks 8 hours a day. It was still a tight race between the four of us because we, Dave, Jen, and I, had been posting higher than Tiffany prior to the 65,000 step day. Then Dave got sick. I only posted 4,000 one day, and that was enough for him to fall too far behind. Then I had something urgent and time-consuming come up at work and only got 10,000 steps that day. That was enough for me to fall too far behind too. So it was basically up to Jenna at that point, and she was really working for it. Even got up at 4 a.m. the last couple of days of the competition to try and max out steps. The highest she ever got to was about 41,000, and in the end, Tiffany beat her by about 250 steps overall. Tiffany had zero issue happily accepting her award at the next company-wide meeting and gave this super annoying speech about how everyone did so great and how in the end she's just glad we all became more active and healthy. I never responded to the message she sent me about being depressed about her dog or whatever. At the end of the day, this is my job, and I'm not trying to get into some messy and weird fight over an Apple Watch and an extra 4 hours on a Friday. There's always that one person that has to ruin it for everyone else. This whole situation is a perfect example of how workplace competitions can go off the rails and how the corporate world can get so bananas. Honestly, I don't blame you for calling it out, OP. It's frustrating when someone bends the rules and then tries to guilt trip you for pointing it out. At the end of the day, you handled it professionally and didn't engage in the drama. Do you know someone like Tiffany? Share your workplace drama with us in the comments below. Thank you for joining us today in the rLounge. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. Until next time. And please put your chair back where you found it.